We will now connect you to your call. The host has joined the conference.
I think you'll find it interesting.
Conference recording started. Conference recording stopped. Conference recording started.
We're back. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're going to just jump right into our folders. It's 9 a.m. morning. Thanks, boy. I'm not a
How about having 2 cups of coffee?
Oh, I crush the coffee stuff. It's just
Thank you, sir.
Well, you do that, I'll go see if there's anything else I can get that you asked for.
Did I ask for that many things?
Yeah, Burlington, man.
Exciting, isn't it?
Brian, did we get any legal paperwork in from Consolidated Communications on abatement of taxes for falls?
Yep. What kind of paperwork?
Consolidated or Eversource?
Oh, Eversource.
Yeah, okay.
You said
Consolidated abatement legal notice. Did we get anything in?
Consolidated abatement.
Yeah, the communication company. Did we get any kind of legal work asking for an abatement of their property taxes? Okay. I got asked yesterday by.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
That came to the tax collector or the assessment technician.
Okay.
Why would we be expecting that, Chuck?
Becky Mason yesterday when I was at the
Oh, yeah?
broadband committee, they just got served. And I told her, we got one from Eversource, but they didn't,
Okay.
she was gonna back and see if they had anything from Eversource.
as I jump into the big manifest file, I'm just gonna take a second here to welcome Audrey Frazier, our, new town administrator, coming in, pushing Brian out the door, huh?
That's okay.
That's rough, huh? Treated like that, Brian, after all you've done.
I came, I said a max of 2 years, any time before that's fine.
Thank you.
Well, we found Audrey here, I should say she found us, and she just seemed like the perfect, person, and the opportunity was there. Later on, I'm gonna try and get her off the side to find out why, well, just for my own personal knowledge, did you take this job? Because I wanna have this conversation in 6 months.
I don't wanna be around that conversation.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm curious what's happening.
We are reading through a series of folders, mail folders, action folders, manifest. There's one other?
It really makes for
Signature.
slow 15 to 20 minutes for the first part of the meeting for anybody that's not reading.
I wasn't sure the meeting is in proper order yet.
Yes, we're pretty informally, we welcomed everybody in. We, jump into our file folders.
My next question, thank you, Brenda.
Of course, it's the time they say, what's this? Rust.
Aha, the purchase of the new cruiser is here.
That's correct. And the lieutenant indicated he's gonna be here this morning. I want to get a definite pickup date so I can add it to the insurance and make sure it's insured before it leaves the lot.
Did you want me to dig out the accessories? Were we talking about that?
Yeah, I talked to the lieutenant about getting a list of accessories that were purchased on last year's budget. He can put that together.
Well, I have it, you want me to get it?
Have it, not right now.
You don't need it now? Okay. Make myself a note.
Was looking for it, the budget preparation purposes.
It's 103. Signatures. I see our other two, nonprofits have filed for their funding.
That's correct.
Latest, technology bill from Lenhart.
Yes, the $20 amount on that is, we were using, before I walk in here, our backup system, our cloud system.
Yes.
But since we increased our ability to store up to 8 gigabytes, that became extremely expensive. He found one that was much cheaper, but he has to be the carrier as a contracted IT person. So he breaks it down based on his client's use, and it's a much cheaper deal for us, so we'll get $20 a month charge for that cloud backup.
To make sure that makes it into our calculations.
Well, it already is in there, Mike, because we were paying for the other account already to back up our carbonite, not so the carbonite. They're already paying for carbonite, and it's replacing carbonite.
So that'll just be kind of a wash.
That's correct.
No, a savings,
Savings?
not a wash, a savings.
Oh, it's
Yeah, well, it
Small dollars.
only amounts to a $20 savings over what you're doing right now a year.
Okay.
But the cost of carbonite to do 8 gigabytes was astronomical. So,
okay.
I told him I wanted to separate that out, because I was sure that the selectmen and the budget committee were gonna ask me questions about it.
I'm figuring, there's gonna be a lot of questions as we make changes in operations every year of late.
So I believe if he listens to me, we'll get 2 separate bills, one for the contract, which will be the bid contract cost, and then one for the $10.
So Audrey, we have manifest to sign, minutes which we'll approve, those get signed, in case you haven't. I don't know what you saw in the signature folders and mail folders, if you were apprised, but, okay, so you basically have an overview of everything that we're seeing happen.
Yeah, I had been warned that sometimes you don't follow the agenda anyway, I have to get you back on.
Yeah, I caught some of that conversation you were tossing out there, yes. Occasionally, he puts things in the agenda that skips forward to and then returns back to subject matter, so since it's in the signature folder, I'll just take a moment here, Brian, I apologize if this is on your agenda somewhere later, because I haven't gone through the agenda this morning. But the school, the election is kind of a public service announcement on November 3rd. We'll be at the school between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. Since we were just signed that paperwork, I just thought I'd announce that to the world.
Included in your signature stuff to read off, so.
I thought it might be, but I've got a couple more folders to go through. I might lose track of that later on in case it wasn't. Testament to your efficiency, Brian.
Right.
Wow. Doesn't take a compliment, well, you know. And what, pray tell, did we send,
That's one of the junkyard letters.
oh, really?
Came back.
That's also the address of a postbox issue. Interesting. Okay. I wonder if We'll probably
Well,
reach it.
maybe it's the post office box issue.
Oh, that's probably what it would be. It's from us, not, I think this will be a,
We can hand deliver.
yep, just what we did with, junkyard letter. Yeah, hand delivered.
I didn't open it, so I made the wrong assumption.
Not a problem.
That's something I should be writing, I missed it.
No. Mr. Strauss.
Audrey, Dave Strauss, Chairman of the Budget Committee, Audrey Frazier.
Thank you. Good, thanks.
What's up with that guy?
We will drive you to drink.
Just you.
They're members of the Mutual Feeling Society.
We really pick on each other, but I think we really like each other.
All right, good. How old we are?
I will tell you, Audrey, when you started to put together the forms for the Department of Revenue Administration, David, wait a second.
Every week. So according to what I'm reading here for the 10th for Election Day, looks like we need to go out and designate the area.
I think we need to put a couple of flags.
That's the big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can put
That's
flags.
that's so that we can get dig safe to come in and,
Right.
if we can put the stakes into
So
the
I
tent.
got some flags at the house, marking, flags. If you want to go down, we'll just
Yeah,
run a tape.
it would fit between the main sidewalk and the other sidewalk to the left as you're facing the building.
Yep.
So that whole
And how
space,
close to the, probably 15 to 20 feet back from the actual parking, from the sidewalk?
well, it's gonna be 40 feet wide, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of room before you get up to the, flagpole.
Okay.
So it would be just between the flagpole, the sidewalk, and it's along the parking lot,
All right.
with the curb, and the two people walkways that go into the building. That whole area is,
Okay.
pretty oversized. Yeah, I mean, it fits in a little bit between both of those sidewalks, so it'll carry the line.
Can we put little flags down anytime? Or do we need to wait like right before it and do it then?
You have a 72-hour window that they're gonna come and, mark the lines.
Yeah.
So as soon as you do it, I need to know to call Big.
Perfect.
Yeah, end of the month, unless they wanna do it sooner, I guess, sure.
Well, you have 30 days, but you have to do it 3 days before the event.
Okay?
And what was that? Well, how big was the tent? 40 by 60 or
40 by 80.
40 by 80?
We went big.
Yeah, so if they're
Turnout.
coming on the Monday,
We didn't have enough room for in the littler tent,
Yep.
tables and everything, and we were expecting, much larger turnout, so. Okay. Got it, good deal.
Okay. So that's short thing.
All right, as, per usual, I am last to get through everything. I should have took that Evelyn Wood speed reading course all those years ago. Hey, you been off of that?
Well, at least you're consistent.
Yeah, there you go, huh? All right then, we'll, move right into the manifest, in which case we have a very similar number to last week to approve in the manifest, which is $51,670.73. I make such a motion to approve. Second. All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Al and I. Signature folder, we have our minutes, and I will make a motion to approve the September 29th minutes of our regular meeting. Second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Al and I. Let's see, we have transfer declarations for a number of,
You missed the non-public one.
oh, sorry, September 29th, non-public. I make a motion to approve those.
All right, second.
Thank you, Chuck. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Al and I. Transfer, declarations for 3 parcels of property sold through our auctions. We sign those in the...
I make a slight correction to what you said for the.
Sure.
It's actually 4 parcels, because 2 of them have to be combined.
Oh, to the merger.
So it's 4 parcels, but 1 has to be merged.
Well,
So the minutes are clear.
okay, I will state then that the planning board did approve, a couple of weeks ago, the merger. So, as a matter of filing, that's all that's left. They have been, it has been taken care of at the planning board level. So that moves us on to the posting of November 3rd's election, which I jumped ahead, sorry, Brian, and covered. This is November 3rd between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. And we will have, as we were just discussing, a large tent outside as well. We're expecting a lot of folks, and they'll be voting inside the tent as well. Marking of the tent in the action folder has been covered and discussed. And that brings us to the winter contract. We had our 2 bids come in, and one of them was from Integrity Earthworks LLC, which was the higher bidder at $757,500, and Evans Brothers from Ossipee had the lower bid at $749,250.
This is for 3 years, correct?
This is a 3-year contract.
3-year total.
And as soon as we award this, we will need to get out the, signed contract to whoever has been awarded to, so that they can pursue the bond requirements in that contract. So, let's start a little discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to discuss about the 2 contractors, the bid price, straight award? Any thoughts?
None. I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
All right, well, Chuck, since you seemed like you're ready,
Make a motion to accept the Evans Brothers, contract for $749,250 for the total of the 3 years.
all right, and I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, and then, any discussion on that? I guess I'll just chime in and just say that we're going with the lower bidder, that, to the best of my knowledge, when I looked into both companies, they're, both good companies, both worth hiring as far as I know. There's no bad issues here, so, they go with the lower bidder, and the Evans Brothers, of course, has been working for the town for quite a few years, so I don't see a problem there.
I think it also should be in the minutes that Evans Brothers followed the bid process and the other company did not.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't gonna really get into that, but I will, and it's part of our, since you brought it up, a winter road maintenance, bid proposal, or RFP, did state in it, in line 3, that the bids will be received in a sealed envelope marked winter road maintenance, and the bid submitted by the, Integrity Earthworks was not in a sealed, envelope and was not marked accordingly. So if you want to be a stickler to the rules, that would actually, could be used to disqualify that bid. I would say that outside of that little blurb there, I'm thrilled that this company came to the table and bid on the contract. It's brings some competition that's been lacking to the process, so we thank them for putting that out there, and hopefully they'll continue to bid on town projects. All right, I guess with that, Christine, you've got some work for you to get out the.
Should we take a vote on that?
Yeah, you want to vote on it too? Man,
Fuller, aye.
Hal and I. So, with that, Christine, if we can get the contract in for us to be signed, and we'll get that out to the Evans Brothers so they can pursue the bonding requirement. All right, then we're off to reviewing the mail, which we have the zoning officer's report in there for month's activities.
You see the activity is picking up?
Yeah, there
There's
seems to be.
more activity on that report than it has been on average over the last several weeks, so.
And it does seem to be a considerable amount of, activity in the town. And there's a number of notices went out because of that activity, a lot of permits being issued, and a lot of follow-up by our zoning officer, Rebecca Boyden. We do have a return of a junkyard notice, which when, our Lieutenant Duchesne comes in, we'll see if we can get him to hand deliver, which seems to be the basic course of action we're following these days. I had something else yesterday that was taken and possibly delivered yesterday, possibly today by Joe, which saves some engaging the sheriff's department, so that's good. The monthly fire department report was in the review of the mail. It looks like we're continuing to do some maintenance on the fleet of vehicles. We have approval for construction of septic system, and the light at the library has been addressed, and that problem has been rectified. And a check from NRRA for our recovery of scrap metal as a revenue, which goes into our special revenue fund. That brings us down to the administrator's comments, and let's see, we'll go right into Mr. Hart. No, just kidding.
First of all, I did audit the Lakes Region, land use regulation books, and one of them will come with the CD.
Great.
I did notify HEB about the problem with the email address. That turned out to be a problem with the Army Corps of Engineers. Really, it was they that had the wrong address and was sending it out to everybody. Corps of Engineers has corrected that and has sent us an email indicating so.
Great.
The lieutenant, I guess he's not here yet. Lieutenant yesterday came to me. We have 2 cell phones for the police officers. One of them will not hold a charge at all. That was the one that was being carried by the chief. They are probably 4 or 5 iterations past use. He would like to update the 2 phones so that they will work. The one that the sergeant has holds charge for about a half an hour, so he has to leave it plugged in all the time.
It's surprising this is the first we heard about it, but Lieutenant Duchesne did grab me, just in passing the other day. Maybe that was a week ago or something, and he wanted to know the process for it, and I just put to him, if this is an equipment issue in the PD,
do it.
you run into things like that, take the initiative and get what you need.
Well, the problem is that we don't seem to know who it was that took the initiative to order them. So that's gonna take a little research. That's why he came to me. I don't know whether it was Chief Butts or someone before him or Claudia as the town administrator. So it's gonna take a little work. I'll work on it and with Lieutenant and have it take place.
Wouldn't the, carrier have some records on that?
This came to me yesterday afternoon.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll give you a few more minutes.
The next thing on the license, because, on the list is, we have talked about going to a communications line item in the budget, which would be under executive for everything in this building. Not necessarily the annex, only one side of the annex. Deanna came to me yesterday and wanted to know what to put in for a telephone line item. I told her until the board makes a decision to leave it blank, because I thought that everybody was talking about going to a communications line item.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up so you know that I'm telling people to leave that blank for the time being.
And I sat here, yesterday afternoon and went through the, town clerk and the town clerk tax collector's budget, and that was in there, and yeah, I just, as the discussion just went, we're gonna absorb those in our, executive line. Dave is in the back of the room nodding his
We had talked
head
about
in
that.
agreement, so we're good.
I'm assuming that's going to also go for zoning, the planning and zoning.
Right.
I always want to say welfare, general assistance, and those costs. The only ones that are gonna be separated, actually, the phone, the consolidated phone, I understood from listening to the conversation that's going into PD, will also be part of that, but the cell phones and
Are
the cell
separate.
phone for the transmission of data out of the cruisers will be separated.
Right, yeah.
And the fire department and transfer station will still be standalones because they're still gonna be copper lines, not under the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, that covers that. We had an aid check that came in for $42,193.77 that I had a copy of in the file. It took a while to figure out where that really came from because we had no similar amount. At the beginning of the biennium budget, and if you think back, Tom, you weren't here for it, but if you think back, last year we got a 36,000 and some change check because the legislature gave a one-time 2-year amount of money to municipalities in the budget. It has nothing to do with COVID or anything else. It was a state decision. And we got that check last year. The reason this check is different is because it's based on a school count, a formula that includes a bunch of stuff, one of them being the school count. Our school count was different this year, which gave us the new amount, increased amount of money. But that's where it comes from. It's to be used to lower property taxes in any way that the board sees fit to use it to lower property taxes.
So, with that, we can use it for, a variety of things. We also had that initial go-around last year of the $36,000 or so, in which case we held a public meeting, hearing with, in accordance with RSA 31:95. That was done. Since this is now considered anticipated funds because it was an extension of that acceptance last year, we don't have to hold a public hearing on that. We just can accept that check and put it to use for, the appropriate purpose.
I have sent a message to Teresa Swan to set up email for Audrey as Audrey.Frazier@EffinghamNH.net. Lieutenant DeShane also asked that we have one set up for him and one set up for Ian, and they will continue to use the police at EffinghamNH.net for the purpose of part-time officers. And so I sent also to Teresa, the request for Joe.DuchesneAt EffinghamNH.net and Ian.McMillan at EffinghamNH.net to be things I wanted to do was transfer money into the account that's been set up for the transfer station income. I discovered that that's gonna take a little bit of creative bookkeeping. It's easy, we know the amount, but the problem is, it's in several little line items throughout, and so it's gonna take a little bit of creative bookkeeping to see what we're yanking it out of to put it into that account. We know the amount, I just gotta figure out each line item it's gotta come out of.
Right, to balance the transfer station's line items, that, I assume that's what you.
Because what we've been doing up until, I guess, last month, NRA was sending us a bill, which was a net bill. They were taking off the income from the expense and sending us a bill for the net amount, and we were paying that bill out of the container transfer line item that was set up for that. Because of that, now I've got a problem. I've got to separate the income from metals. I got to separate the cost for glass. I got to separate all those out to be able to work it. So it's going to take a little bit of creative bookkeeping before I can get that done. Audrey hasn't even learned about that yet, but that may be one of her tasks. I will help her figure that out.
She just looked at you with like, that was your mess. I just got here, clean your desk before you leave, just courtesy.
I think that's it for me.
All right. Then we'll kick it over to Selectman Hart. Update on.
Yeah. All right, on the, oil containment, I called around, we had a list here for the, waste recovery in contaminated oil, oil pickup. Called out a lot of these numbers on here, been disconnected, out of business, don't do it anymore.
Exciting.
Left a message. Anyway, I got back to Clean Harbors. And, they actually are gonna send us a quote of what it would cost us. I can give us a quick breakdown of it. With them, we can sign a contract to do it as needed basis. They've actually been here to pump out a old one. Tom Phoenix is the salesman. When it's 3/4 full, you give them a call. You know, you got one side 3/4 full, give them a call, use the other side, because you got to seal that off once. Because they will come up, they will get a sample. They have to get a sample every time before they pump it out. Sample is $85 per sample, one sample per tank. And then they analyze it, give them a couple of days. That's why they want you to call them at 3/4 full. But after they take the sample, seal it, the analysis comes back. What it breaks down to, $165 trip charge to pump it, $1 a gallon. This is just for oil, not contaminated oil, just the waste oil. And then the sample charge is $85, like I said.
So you start at $250 before you even get paid for running oil.
But if we're doing, because we decided to go with drums, that's 8 tanks at $85 a tank.
Right, that's the thing is
That ends up pretty quick.
when you were talking of the unit that you have.
Yeah, mine was 2.
Right, there's $250 aside, so that
would actually work in our favor doing it that way, because we could keep one empty, so when we have to close this one off, if something happened, they couldn't get here for a week or so, we still have a place to put oil on the other, the other 250.
wouldn't essentially void the past sampling.
Yeah, because you got to seal it once they sample it.
Okay, good to know.
Now, last their update was April of 2019. Yeah. Now, if you have contaminated oil, that's a whole different ballgame. And things that they're going to send us a list of what contaminates, what they consider. Even if you have some antifreeze in it, it's not considered contaminated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, if you got half and half, they say, raise some eyebrows. What contaminates oil the most is thinner, paint thinner, things like that, mineral spirits. People just pour in the liquid jug, figure get rid of it all. That contaminates it.
That floats to the top when the guys do the test, right?
Yeah, well, that sample's gonna tell them exactly what's in it.
Mark was telling me basically that they pour, whoever brings in a container, they actually pour it into a jar or a clear container to see if anything's floating to the top above it. And if it is, they call it contaminated.
The contaminated is another whole deal because, it's a $400 charge for transportation, and, you know, them coming up like their trip charge to do it. For a 55-gallon drum of contaminated oil, all in, you're gonna cost you $800 for one drum, contaminated.
Oh, that's a lot per gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, in a 55-gallon drum, you probably won't even fill.
Right.
You probably have like 50 gallons, so 800, pretty simple math right there.
And
$16 a gallon. Yeah.
we're gonna get this all in writing, they're gonna send it along with the proposal for us, what it'll, you know, break down like I'm doing here, all that. Also, very old oil, the PCB, when that is in the oil, she says that is huge, 'cause that contaminates everything. You're gonna have a complete clean out. After they pump the oil, you're gonna have the whole inside scrubbed down, however they do it.
And what is this for?
PCB in the oil, which comes from very old oil.
Interesting.
But they're gonna send us a brochure on that also. Your reading pleasure.
There you go.
And, that's it, they're supposed to be sending that here, maybe this afternoon, hopefully. So, that's that on that right now. I just want to announce again on this coming Saturday, October 10th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., we got the fire department open house, hamburgers and hot dogs from 11 to 1. Be a good time on Saturday, show up if you can,
All right.
and that's it.
Is that on the website? Should we put it on the website then?
If it's not on there, it'd be a good idea if you could. Thank you.
All right, then, got some interesting and useful information on our oil collection, so that's good. Chuck, what you got over there?
All right, a few things this morning. Yesterday I attended the monthly meeting of the Carroll County Broadband, Committee, over in Wolfboro. And there was an update on the fact, the feasibility study that was partially funded by, business as well as government grants is underway right now. Effingham had an 8.91 response rate to that survey we asked everybody to do, and looking at a lot of the towns, we actually didn't do too bad as a percentage of what's there. But we know a large chunk of the town doesn't have internet anyway, so. What did come out of that meeting though is, in the legislature last year, and the governor signed it, there was basically a bill to create, community districts where communities can band together like a municipality for bonding and decision-making and things like that, and it passed. And one of the things that the commission will be, or the broadband committee will be looking at, and I will have it shortly, is adding a warrant article to each town out of the 19 towns this year at their town meeting to allow for the creation of a community district planning commission. So it's a planning entity to be able to go in and design all the operating guidelines of what a formal entity would do down the road. It's also, by having that formal article passed at a town meeting, does not obligate the town to anything from a standpoint of further involvement, other than, yes, we'll help with creating the guidelines. It also allows the commission to accept grants, which today we can't do. So one of the recent grants that the governor had, the $50 million grant, one of the reasons we couldn't take access of that is we weren't a formal entity, and you had to be. So there's nothing binding for the town on that, other than the selectmen have to appoint 2 people to be part of that, and I'll be more than happy to offer me up as one of the 2 to keep the continuity going of it. That process will take about 18 months to 2 years to do, and at that point in time, providing that commission completes that entire process, there would then be another warrant article that would come back to the town to say, does the town actually want to be part of this program, which means then accepting grants, potential bonding, and other things at no cost to the town, because all the towns that are there basically said we can't afford it. So it's got to be a case where that kind of money is coming through from different avenues. So Rick Highland, who's the chair of the committee and also selectman in Albany, is gonna create warrant article language and send it out to all 19 towns, basically saying, please allow us to create a community district planning commission. So that language will be coming shortly. Questions? Good. Transfer station. I took the tractor down this weekend and moved both of the tanks.
Oh,
That were in where we're going to have our new oil containment area.
great,
And Brad and I dug out all the dirt and debris and everything else that was in there.
thank you.
So, other than needing to be kind of like final swept before you put any concrete in there, it's pretty much ready to go. There is a piece of angle iron that's about 3 feet long that is stuck in the concrete on the left side. The right one looks like it rusted off and broke off. I don't know if we can leave it there, whether we need to try and take it out. It looks like it was pretty, only in the concrete, like a half inch or so it doesn't look like it'd be a big job to get it out.
Yeah,
But we need to decide whether it's an issue pouring concrete on that or not,
I would think taking it out would be the way to go.
okay?
And if we can pry bar it up, that's
I
good,
can't.
otherwise I'll be,
It's gonna be a sledgehammer kind of thing.
I'll just I'll cut it out with a grinder blade.
Okay, all right, okay. This Thursday, the 15th, 9 a.m., for those the 3 transfer station guys, and Mike, if you want to,
Oh,
CE training for your renewal of your license for the transfer station. That will be at the public library. We'll use the community room. I'm gonna basically use my laptop to get it up and running. We'll do an on-demand video and put it on the large TV screen and let you folks listen to it for the 2.5, 3 hours. And then you can make your notations you need for your renewals when you get them next year. So, Brad's renewing now. He got his letter, so as soon as that's done, he'll fill it out, he'll give it to the town will send that in with the fee. The other 3 people, you, Mark, and Bill, don't renew until next year. Some of you get different months you guys renew in. But as long as you take this training within 1 year of that renewal, then it counts. So you'll just have to write down the information about the training and then keep it when your letter comes in, fill it out, give it to the town, they'll send the fee in and it's automatically renewed.
you said that's this Thursday, the 8th,
This Thursday, I'm sorry,
15th?
I think it's the 15th. Good point. Hold on 1 second. I did say this Thursday, but I believe it's next week. Yeah, it's the 15th is what I got down. So Thursday, the 15th.
What does CE stand for?
Continuing education.
You said, 9:15?
9. It'll go basically 9 to noon.
9 to noon.
Yeah, because it's like I've looked at 2 of the videos that you can't retake training you've taken in the past for CE. And looking at, Tara helped kind of define what everybody had already taken. And she sent me a note that said, here are the 3 or 4 on-demand courses that none of them have taken. So we'll decide when we get there which one we want to look at. When we decide we want to start down one, we really don't want that one, we can get out of it and slide into the other one. So,
Chuck, what are they doing about new hires training? Have they mentioned anything on that yet?
didn't even ask the question. Didn't ask.
I would have to go with that group, correct? 'Cause I've
Yeah,
never-
I can give you the contact number for Tara Albert, and she's the one you talk to about this whole thing.
Yeah, she's really responsive too, so.
Yeah, it's what you probably wanna reach out and contact her, because you
Right.
wanna take you wanna learn something. You
Yes.
just don't want, a lot of people just, give me the certification, that's all they want, but you actually
I wanna
want
go-
the
yeah.
education. I attended it, and so I got the whole gist. If somebody's employed there, they just want the employment part of it, often,
I
and
just wanna know about.
you wanna know, yeah, and that was the
Yeah.
thing. I went there to actually learn about it, so.
Yep. Yesterday, as I was actually coming back from, Wolfboro, I happened to come up Townhouse Road and saw that one of our mailbox notices that went out, that it was an incorrect installation.
Yep.
There was an attempt of an installation, but it's still not an approved installation relative to our guidelines. So, I'm not sure what the follow-up is on that from those letters, but,
We had a time frame.
okay.
And when, we meet with Lieutenant Duchesne, we'll probably have either if they're hand-delivered items, then we'll have that time frame, and otherwise, if they went out, we'll have the time frame from the postage.
Okay,
In which case, I think it was 14 days later,
okay,
we'll go out and we'll
Take care of
take
it then.
the debris away from our roadside.
okay, good. This morning, Jacobs Glass, the Preservation, Historic Window Company that's working on the Town Hall project, is doing the final installation of the remaining window, that had been bowed. They had to do some special work on it with the seals. And they'll be all done that project today. Once that's done, I've already traded emails with the Moose Plate grant folks up in Concord around the final report that we need to do relative to that total installation. Once that's done, they'll release the other part of the grant for that. And I'm working on our part of it right now with Brian to be able to pay that bill. And let's see. Chris, thank you for contacting Eversource, for getting them out there for that library light. The heating unit is coming out this morning in the other room.
Yes.
Did you bring a pallet with you this morning?
I brought two, they're in the back of the truck, and I let the gentleman know whenever they're, ready to take it out, to grab the pallets, place them wherever they think it's
I
appropriate.
told them behind the building.
Oh, okay, I was putting it
You want
on
it
a
out?
post, that's fine with me if they don't have a
We also
problem.
need to cover it too. Do we have a tarp or something?
I didn't bring that, but I can
Okay,
grab those.
good. And let's see, the other note I had was the different dog issues. There was a follow-up, but it looks like that got solved last night at 6 o'clock. And Brian, did we find anything out about the rating of the safe and whether that meets money holding requirements?
Yeah, that's not,
That's good. I just wanted, does it meet it? It does. That's all I need. Okay, that's all I had.
all right. I'm just, going to request an update on HEB as far as the Elm Street, wetlands permit. So I'll get back to texting our engineer on that. What we did get, and I have this here for everybody that wants to go through this today, the, report that's being submitted to Department of Environmental Services for the finish work on the Pine River Road culvert, which is essentially geared to allowing us to keep that 5-foot installation, the emergency installation in there, versus going to a clear span concrete, because that would cost a ton of money.
Big bucks.
So what they're proposing, this has not been accepted by the Environmental Services yet, but what HEB is proposing is based on their model, 3 culverts for an overflow, which was one of the things the representative from DES mentioned to me, us. So I have that kind of drawn out, all the maps and stuff to take a look at, so.
Did they actually, in the report, put down potential installation visuals, so how far it is away from the main?
Actually have a whole, diagram,
modeling, right?
multi-page
Yep, okay.
stuff, so yeah, that's why I figured you'd wanna look at this. And it outlines 3 2-foot culverts banked off towards the, where the corner is,
Yeah.
PK Motel is up the hill,
Yeah,
and this is going towards the corner, heading towards Elm Street. So it's just beyond the culvert existing,
yeah.
and it has, on a bit of an angle, 3 2-foot culverts in there. Seems crazy excessive to me, but that's just all of what DES is doing these days, and you don't get a lot of.
It's a lot cheaper than a box culvert.
Yeah, we bought 12 sections of culvert, and, that equals 40 feet and, 20 feet each. So that would, be about half to complete this if the length stays with 40 feet.
Do we have enough 24s?
I don't know, I have to go down and take that in.
When I was in there this weekend, I looked quick, and I only saw one, but that doesn't mean there weren't others.
Yeah, we did use some, I believe, but we bought 12 sections, and that ran us about $3,900, and the price of culverts goes up. So I'm figuring that half that price is about $2,000 for culverts if we're, going on last year's price or this year's price.
Are they just putting these side by side, or is it?
Yeah,
Like you said, one big trench and then?
they're gonna be 3 inlaid, right in a row, a certain amount of
Okay.
spacing between them. But, so the materials price for the culverts, you know, realistically, $2,000, $2,500, depending where prices go next year. And then, obviously the excavation work. I don't know what kind of head walls, if any, are gonna be required, that meaning like concrete, or if we can just use riprap, but it's all in the plan, which I signed them with Deanna, town clerk, yesterday. I didn't really get to go through them, so I brought you a copy.
Is there a rough timetable for the review by DES?
You know, normally I think these things take 90 days once they're submitted, and then from there, if they have questions, that opens the door for a 30-day answer process time frame from HEB, which Al now adds like 30 days, I think, to DES to go on. So depending how many times they want to throw this ball back into your court, they can really string it along, which I've seen happen. So if they just see it straightforward and it works for them, then maybe this just ends really quickly and we can do this in the spring, which would be really nice. I'm shooting for a spring installation anyway, you know, April, May. So, we'll, once this gets formally approved by DES, we can get a copy of this out to Ron, just to get him on board with where it needs to go and make sure he's ready to put it in, and we'll order the materials. Let's see. Have one other thing. I still, I think we need to get down to the Firehouse 2 and look at what we need for repairs down there and get an RFP or something out. Get something out for an advertisement on that one. It would be nice to get that done before the winter hits.
Do you want me to stop down there today and take some pictures of the known problems? Does that help, or do you think just a site visit's the only way to do it?
I don't know. I mean, we probably just need to start cataloging what it is, because it's fascias, soffits.
Yeah, Randy,
111.
he and I got over there last year in the fall,
Oh, okay.
so I know the things that were concerned at that point in time. I don't know if there's anything that's come as additional, but I'll check with him.
Yeah, 'cause the sooner we can get something out on that, because apparently they just don't have the staff available down there to tackle it. There's been an uptick in calls, and everybody at the fire station's kind of maxed out, so they tend to like to do a lot of those projects themselves in-house, but at this point, this one doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Okay.
You know when you're gonna go down and check?
Could do it later this afternoon.
You wanna give me a call when you go? I'd like to eyeball it. Thanks.
Let's see, on, the budget front, we have, I believe, 6 budgets that are supposed to come before us on the 14th in the morning. And that's Historic District, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Conservation Commission, Town Forester, and the Zoning Officer. Now, I have a call out to the Town Forester. I haven't heard back. I'll try again to find out if it's level funding, but I believe, Christine, you said that's actually,
It should be in that file.
okay.
He was one of the first to return last one.
Was it level funding, Dave? Okay, with that, I would say then the only one I hadn't heard from was the Historic District Commission, which again is probably in here, I think. I don't know, Chris, did you notice if that was in?
I don't remember that one.
All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna say this particular 6 budgets, I'm willing to throw it out there that I don't think that we need to have anybody necessarily come in, because everybody, with the exception of the Historic District at this point, is level funded. So, I think it's been an unusual year with COVID. Last year, I believe the exception would be the Town Forester, or maybe the Conservation Commission, but the Zoning Officer, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board of Adjustment all cut their budgets somewhat. and, the zoning officer, the zoning officer did as well. Town forester is holding steady at $1,000, which I don't know how many decades I think that's been going on. And the Conservation Commission, again, is level funding. I know that they had, not spent some of the funds that they would normally do on trails and everything because of COVID, which with all the blowdowns and different things, I'm sure they're gonna probably spend to reestablish some trails next year. As well as we've got properties we wanna get deeded over to them that they're probably gonna need to establish, access to. Some of those are like at Province Lake and on the river, if they can get to the ones on the river, Pine River. So anyway, point being, outside of hearing from the Historic District Commission, I would like to just suggest that we don't drag these folks in. They're level funding, and unless we have an issue with any of the budgets, I don't really need to review them. No? Okay.
You already noticed they're coming at those times, man.
Yeah, I'll reach out. I'll reach out to them and let them know. I've already left a message for the town forester and have coordinated with the Conservation Commission chair. So, planning board and ZBA is one person, and the zoning officer. So, yeah, I'll get it.
I mailed something out to Libby yesterday, right?
So yeah, with that, then we can start focusing on the town clerk, tax collector, which I went through the budgets with Deanna, so she has those for us to review. I understand the library's in, and the treasurer is one that I think we should have some discussion on. So perhaps end of this meeting, if we want to just brush through that next set that's coming in, try and stay ahead of the curve a little bit. Right. So we'll do that. What else do we have here? So we did have a communication earlier on, again, the concerns on Hutchins Pond Road, the bridge out there. I don't know what to do about the traffic issues that are being outlined by Ms. Payne. Some trucking that's taking place out there.
Only reading her document, it looks like there's some construction trucks that, from Ospey, that are coming over that road, but I thought that was a no-through trucking road on the Ospey end.
I thought so too, so, I guess it's kinda, again, we have a big sign package, and Tom, you're still working on signs, so.
One of those things, when I go up driving, I'll just take a different way and come up signs and knock them down, so.
That bridge must be posted 6 ton.
It is, nice big sign on it.
So I guess, if this hasn't been conveyed to,
I think we should look at PD now.
right, and that's exactly where I'm going with that, so I figure if, Joe Duchesne shows up today, that's something that we can kinda give to him. Chuck, I hate to do this one to you here, but
Go for it.
it's the yellow card. You addressed this, a bit ago for the DRA coming through.
Yep.
And it startled me because I thought, if you didn't respond, they would just come through and do exterior dimensions. And according to this, when I read it, that's exactly what it is. If you want an interior, review, then you call the number and set an appointment. But, as failure to reply to this notice constitute visit permission. So I just wanted to update people that if you got a yellow card from the Department of Revenue Administration, they would be coming out unless you specifically told them no. Anyway, minor thing. Now the date is passed. I think it was October 1st, so if you didn't get to it, they're coming.
Okay. And I know, Avatar's been doing appointments for people that
Yes.
called in. I did mine last week, and it was a very smooth conversation, and things were noted and cleaned up, and it was great.
Good. I believe that, Budget Committee Chair reported there was similar interactions and basically what you said. All right. I noted that we did have a breakdown on how background information is gathered. and at some point, we'll put that in our review of personnel policy stuff, which I had some basic language, which I forgot, it was off the cuff for you on vacation time stuff, so we'll get back to those items with whenever we can schedule a work session to deal with that. I'll make sure I have some language for
I
it.
think you scheduled it already, and I think it's scheduled for the 14th.
Did we?
Yes.
Oh, good. That's, swimming in documents.
It's on the agenda for your work session on that day.
Okay. And, the other thing was the sign up, which I'll get together with, our town administrators, plural, to work on the health trust, part of things that has to be accomplished before October's, out. We will need to work on this. I will provide this to you, Brian. This is still technically on your desk, not Audrey's, I guess, but it's,
Well, actually, it's on your desk because you're the CEO.
well, I did my part. Now I have to coordinate with you.
Make sure he can still
you
access
can get it right, exactly. And with that, Audrey's gonna need access, so this is basically to set up those accesses. And you'll probably have some thoughts on timelines and whatnot.
It might be simpler just to set Audrey up now.
Well, that's the thoughts you're having on timelines. See, there you go. All right. Let's see, did we have anything in the past minutes that Tom covered the open house. The town offices will be closed October 12th for Columbus Day. Set up account for town administrator, health trust.
The tax collector's office will also be closed Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, that's the 11th and 12th?
Yes,
No,
Monday,
the 12th and the 13th,
Monday and Tuesday,
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
tax collector.
Tax collectors closed Monday and Tuesday,
Monday's a holiday, correct?
right? Let's see.
Did anybody reach out to Oxby Rec to see if,
No, I was gonna bring that up, I'm glad you brought it up, I was thinking of it earlier. We need to talk to them to see what their expectations are next year. I guess I should probably call Matt Sawyer, maybe after we finish this meeting, as well as we should probably cut them that 20% check and get that out, Brian. So, all right, we'll finish up on that. I think that's what I had from past minutes. The one other thing I had in the minutes, previous weeks were, Chief Burbank, his interest in staffing at the fire station. I quickly went through the numbers, and I'm a little thrown by the two numbers that were put out. If he had 260 work days at a price, and that price comes out to be basically what he's asking for, then I missed the increase the following year unless there's more days.
can't put it into play next year until after town meeting. So you're not gonna do 13 weeks.
Right, no, I get that, but if his proposal, I believe, showed 260 days times $234.23, which basically is just shy of the $61,000. That seems like a number that is for an entire year, unless I'm missing something. So the idea that it would go up to 78,000, I'm at a loss for. So anyway, we can work with Randy when he comes in, Chief Burbank, on just getting the accuracy in numbers.
Understanding it.
And with that, I was considering my views on this are such that I think the benefit is to put this in a warrant article as opposed to the operating budget. Because with the operating budget, you open a can of worms to now start poking into funds and work that the budget committee and we and department heads have all put together. And Randy, in this case, if you lump it in there, if people want to start making changes. The other thing is, this is a big item that will carry year after year. And I think at least initially, it will become part of the operating budget if accepted. I'm thinking that the townspeople should just have a straight up or down vote on it as far as, you know, the inception of putting these hours in, you know, this whole package together. That's a big, I think it's beyond what I would feel comfortable saying this is part of an operating.
I'm good with a separate warrant article.
Okay, and I think the budget committee chair kind of thought it was the way to go as well. Dave's back there, and was that your feeling? A warrant article would be the appropriate way, at least initially?
Yeah, we had discussed some other issues, and then when you brought up about the overall operating budget for warrant article, it made more sense, a separate article.
Okay, great, then we'll work with Randy on that when we get him in next, and we'll figure on putting proposing a warrant article for it. The numbers have to get cleaned up. All right, beyond that, I don't think I have a lot of things today. I was considering maybe we wanted to take a few minutes to look at the next round of budgets. Oh, Chuck? Yep.
Two things, road stuff. Did you get a hold of Ron to ask him to punch those culverts?
I did, and he forgot about it, which is normally the case. I stopped in on him a couple of weeks ago. He wrote it down. Did he follow up? I'm not positive.
Okay, good.
So
At least we got it going.
I'll follow up with Ron on that.
Are we gonna do another, grading job on the gravel roads before freeze?
And that was another thing I talked to him about, was doing some touch-ups.
Cause there's washouts and washboard on Snow Road that's getting
Okay.
like it was out on Clough Road.
I think one of the things we talked about at the time was that the conditions were dry, which are changing now.
I just wanna make sure we do it before freeze.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to him on those few items that I had about the road. We had, have it right here actually, to, get the logging truck in and punch those out, and, for grading. The grading wasn't pursued a couple of weeks ago because of the dry conditions, and essentially without any moisture in the road, it wasn't gonna do anything. You know, you fill the holes in, but it just was gonna, yeah, everything's too loose, it won't bind. So, I'll call Ron when we take a break here and follow up on those items. Okay. You start.
I just wanted to touch on the, new boiler being installed.
Yes.
Now that we're going from pellet to gas, correct?
Right.
The gas tank out here, is that on autofill? And if so, I think we gotta notify the gas company that they gotta change their tabulations just because we have a new boiler being used now, not just a generator.
The answer to your question, it is on autofill,
We're gonna,
and we need to notify.
okay. That was all.
All right. That's a good point. And
actually, we might wanna talk to them that that needs to be a bigger tank.
I think it's something we need to do this afternoon though, only because if that's getting installed and that's gonna be our source of heat. And if that tank is low, it'll be used up pretty quick.
it's a 1,000-gallon tank that the town does own.
And it was full earlier in the spring when we had those other issues, so we didn't use that much this
Right, but going forth, we are gonna
Oh,
use
I
a lot,
agree.
so it does have to be recalculated.
They need to have it on there.
Well, I believe the heat in the annex is already gas heat.
Right.
So it's that, the generator, and the supplemental heater here, which run off that tank. But when we put a boiler in here, it may use more, and they may want to upgrade the size of the tank, just so they don't have to come every week or whatever. You know, they're looking facetious.
That's 1,000 gallons, we're not gonna go through it.
Yeah, I think 1,000 gallons is probably gonna be all right, and they may just have to come a little more frequent.
But their formula was.
Efficiency, the boiler's supposed to be extremely efficient too, right? That's one of the things.
I don't know, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
boiler.
it's
Nice try, but that wasn't my thing.
Well, I guess when we hit the colder weather, we'll get a pretty good idea of what our usage is. And can schedules change next year if it comes to that. I think we're gonna hit the trust fund budget for municipal buildings pretty good with this installation, so we'll survive and go from there, I would think. All right. Any other, I don't think I have anything else to get into here, so if anybody else has anything else, please bring it up.
Whole business.
Mr. Burke?
Audit on the 20th and the 21st. I'm going to, because it's a selectmen's meeting, the 20th, I'm gonna put the auditors in the annex for that morning.
Okay. And how long are they planning to be here? What,
2 days.
no, but I mean, how late do they work? Do we have any idea?
Last year, they worked until 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Okay. I would be,
And last year, they spent almost a week here. They're gonna try to do this in 2 days, so it may be longer days.
so having heard this discussion just yesterday from you, and having seen a few of the audits go through, they occupy this room, they set up a bunch of computers, they get traffic back and forth from the office, bringing data back and forth. How would we feel about putting our meeting like to 5 o'clock and let them have the room for that day?
If you do that, then they have to, the other thing they did last year is they left everything set up at night, so they could come in the next morning.
What about the board meeting back there?
What was that, Chuck? I'm sorry.
We'll move our meeting to the 19th.
I would like to come in weekly just because we stay on top of things.
Well, that is stuff.
Oh, is that?
The day before,
Oh,
Yeah.
and on Monday rather than Tuesday. I think that would, because I kind of agree with Brian, if they're set up in here.
Yeah, I don't
there's
want.
no way we can come in that night, because there's gonna be stuff in here that they probably
If you meet on Monday, you have to meet in the afternoon if you wanna have a manifest.
Right, understood. So why don't we look at doing the 5 o'clock meeting on Monday? Unless you feel we should be earlier, give you guys, we could come in at 3 or whatever. I mean, what works for everybody?
3 sounds better, 2 even sounds better than that.
Can you have everything ready by 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Audrey, that work for you? I know you're looking, okay. Tom? Why don't we do a 2 o'clock then?
On the 19th?
Try to accommodate everybody's schedule on the 19th, yeah.
Nice. All notices are sent out for the 20th.
And, okay,
Oh, can't the board use the building out back?
No, because you can't do the phone.
Oh, it's not
Yeah.
work?
yeah, we're not going out there. So, the town clerk tax collector, I think that we can work that one out. And the supervisor of the checklist, I think there again, we'll probably be able to work that out. Chuck, I mean,
Grace.
yeah,
Grace is gonna call in for the library anyway, and I think that'll work.
Grace is a call-in. I don't know that Laurie was going to be attending as a treasurer, so we can work that one out. And then,
Budget committee could be the only one that would be a problem.
yeah, but you know what? It's time to start giving those guys a little pushback. I don't.
What time you start?
2 o'clock? Do you think you could, accommodate
On Monday?
yeah, Monday afternoon?
It couldn't be me, Monday to Friday, but committed to the elderly.
Well, I don't really see that we're going to kinda get into a tug of war with the budget committee over the budget committee's budget. It's, first off, it's very small, budget, and quite frankly, it's the budget committee's budget that gets put forward. I don't have any interest in putting in suggestions to what you need to have at this point in time. I don't know about other members of the
No.
board.
I mean, and if you wanna have Leo here, Dave, I'm sure he could do that. Yeah, he would.
Okay,
I can have Leo or Tim, one of them, back me up.
yeah, well, and there again, that's by your choice if you wanna come in, otherwise I think we're.
Contact these other people and let them know different times?
We'll reach out, we'll, yeah, sure. I'll probably ask Brian to see if, Laurie even wants to attend. I really don't think there's a need. I think, we're probably gonna propose some changes on that budget ourselves, so. The library, Chuck said that, Grace Fuller will call in. I can reach out to Cheryl Byrick for the supervisors of the checklist, and...
Actually, it's Carol.
Oh, it's Carol now? Okay. And at that point, we're gonna go through these now, or in short order, so I think we can kind of dispense with having a need to have somebody come in. If we find that there's something in their budgets that's problematic, we'll make arrangements, for the supervisors or tax collector. Yep.
The treasurer, you wanna say that she wants to meet with the board on her budget, right? On the,
Yeah, and with that, I would say that, you know, you can express that we don't feel a need that she needs to come in. If she feels there's a need, okay, that's different.
I just wanna make sure I had the right meeting, and that would be the 2 o'clock Monday.
Right. Yep. And, at that point, if she wants to come in, it'd be any time that she's available that afternoon after 2:30, I suppose. Okay. All right. With that, does anyone have anything? Seeing nothing. Dave, did you want a last word before we?
No, I'm gonna go budgets.
Okay. Then, I figure we'll go, do a work session, so we'll take a break. Come back in 10-15 minutes when everybody's situated, and, we'll resume going through budgets. All right.
Conference recording stopped. Conference recording started.
Still trying to get a minute here to, ask our engineer a question, so. Find out when we have a start date for, finish of our project on the bridge.
Christine, did you ask Eric about his budget? I haven't seen. Did you send him an email? Yep. He's not responding to me. Oh, really?
Well now. All right, so, budget-wise, does everybody have, the first half a dozen budgets? Historic, zoning,
The handout we just had, that was presented this morning?
yeah, everybody got them, okay, great. So, zoning officer, Dave, you're gonna need these signed off on?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's, who are you starting with first?
I just happen to have Rebecca's here. Oh, wait a minute. No, I got planning board in front of me. No, it's CBA. Zoning board, planning board. I've got,
Very good.
no, I really,
4191 zoning board.
yes. Do we approve this? I don't know that we need to go through all kinds of formal motions and stuff.
No, that's a,
Okay. Okay, so,
so where, the legal work that happens to come out of these guys, does that hit our legal budget?
for the ZBA? Yeah, that would come out of our budget if they presented anything to the town's attorney.
Good.
Let's see, today is six.
Is this ZEO or ZBA? ZBA?
Yep.
And then I'll go on to the planning board.
Are you signing those, Mike?
Yes, I am.
Just tell them the appropriate person that you don't have to come in, you're all set.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, we've already decided that we're good, but last chance to change your mind on anything on the, planning board.
Nope, good.
Okay. I've got Emmeline Albert's Conservation Commission here, level funded, as I stated. I think they just shuffled the deck slightly.
They moved some money around a couple of lines, but bottom line the same.
Okay. And that brings me,
Nope.
What's that, Dave?
You didn't change anything on that one?
No. Yeah. I'm figuring a lot of their activities, like I stated earlier, kind of got postponed, and they'll probably pick them up, once they can get staff out there. I know she
You
has.
did note that the budget actually hadn't spent anything, right?
Right, and that's part of the COVID thing, because they have trail maintenance and other things. I think they had some contractor, stuff they'd like to have done, but because of COVID, they weren't getting.
But I just wanna, you know, if you're reviewing these things, that, you know, you are taking into consideration of what they spent.
Yeah, were you in the room earlier when I said we're going to sign over some properties to them, and they're gonna probably want to establish trails into. One of them is, it's on Bailey Road, one of the roads that comes off of there. It's.
Yeah, I'm just talking in general as we're going through these budgets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know they
I
didn't.
wanted to remind you, you know, just to, don't forget about, you know, looking at your budget, what they actually spent. I mean, I understand that, you know, because I know that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, well, they've got some driveways and some trails to maintain that I think that didn't get done. Water testing, they're increasing cost on water testing that they do test for the town.
One of the recent storms, they had some trees come down that need to be cleaned up too, didn't they?
Right, and they went out and they got some volunteers to cut some of it up, but they still want some of the stuff taken away, the log stuff that they cut up. And they didn't get to do a few of the things for educational purposes this year, so I don't see this cutting those. But I know we want to get one of those roads out on Province Lake. It dead ends, and it just goes into vegetation, but the road would normally continue in further, the access to lots. Beyond that is land of the Conservation Commission and lands that we want to give them that would be contiguous to protect that area. And there's no access cut in at this moment. So I'm figuring, having gone out there, that there's going to be an expense to get access out there. And I think that they would probably be pursuing doing that once we give them those properties so that they can get into that habitat in there. Anyway, you'll be able to go over that with Emmeline and or other representatives when you guys get to it. I think we're all good with just moving forward. Let's see, supervisor the checklist, that's not on this one, town, where's the, zoning officer, again, level funded, so we pretty much stayed with that.
Over the supervisor checklist?
Was that, no, I did, only because that's in the next set.
Okay.
Good. And so, 10/6/2020. Let's see, so we got the zoning officer, conservation commission, planning board, and ZBA are done. We could have 2 copies of that one. Yeah, what am I missing? I'm missing the town forester here. Maybe I've got it in this other pile. I've got some other papers off the side. Yes, town forester, found. And again, level funded at $1,000. Would like to follow up with Jeff, because I talked to him about, doing some cutting on some of the town properties, and I think there was some that were ready to be cut. His schedule probably just doesn't allow him to get in there and organize that yet. I'd like to timber some of the properties. So if we do talk to Jeff at all, that would be the thing. So that just leaves the Historic District Commission to get a budget from, which has not been submitted, I understand. All right. Then the next ones we have Deanna's budgets, which have not been put out. Is that correct, Chris?
I don't see anything there.
Yeah. We'll just ask Deanna for those.
You want me to run in and get it, or?
Yeah, if you don't mind, could you get copies of that?
That's the GA too?
I do have that one, yeah. So, let's see. So, out of the next set, I don't have the library either. Or, I don't believe so, not in front of me, I'm not seeing it.
What I was saying is that's not in there.
Yeah.
Do you need the library?
We could,
You don't have Deanna's? I
um,
don't have that either.
no.
You need it. What? You just gave it. I didn't give you anything. Deanna's?
So we'll go forward with the ones we do have then, which would be the supervisor of the checklist.
Print off a copy of Deanna's. I got those too.
Chris is working on it, Deanne will have. So the supervisors of the checklist here, yep, Carol Fist is the contact. There's,
Do we know why the line item for the salary dropped by half?
yeah, the amount of elections.
Okay.
So that would be the one issue to say they dropped, a fairly good amount, but is that really reflective of what we should be looking at? The number of, elections next year, I don't know what the number is, so that would be kind of the thing. Basically, 2019, we was,
We'll get one election next year.
that's, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because you have every even year, you have your midterms, or you have your presidential, and then in between, you just have,
It's every 2 years for the state.
there's 2 years for the state. So there doesn't seem to be any activity for next year.
Get town meeting.
Yeah. That's it. So $1,300 or $1,290, when this year was budgeted for $2,400 for 4 elections. There are shorter election days on the towns.
Now, you do have the school district you have to pay that for also.
Okay.
So it's actually, that's 2 days. Because they get paid to go over for the GovernmentOversite school district vote.
Okay, so maybe we want to have an explanation on that.
Just ask Carol what went into the number.
Okay.
All right, that's the library.
Okay, so.
Library.
Thank you.
You guys don't want copies?
Salaries.
I gotta make another copy.
It's okay then, I'll get a whole package, 'cause I don't have any of them.
Yeah, that's your original.
All right, so there's nothing else on here that anybody has issue with on the supervisors? We'll just put that one question on.
I just have one question.
All right, Tom, you good with that? Yep. All right. Then, the next item would be, well, let's go to the first item, which, now we have the paperwork, which is town clerk, tax collector, financial,
Mike, if we could back up just the supervisors for a minute.
yes,
I think they're all planning on the fact that we may be doing COVID next year, and there might not be as much state money available or federal money available for COVID. I think that's some of the costs they're putting in. I know that some of the costs the town clerk is putting in.
well, again, the only number that has moved is salaries.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if the COVID would affect their salaries.
What, just an explanation of what made up the number.
Yep. Okay.
It might be that they need more people.
Well, it's the three,
There's numerous reasons. We'll ask her.
well, yeah, because there should only be 3 people. The supervisors are just, there's 3 of them. Supervisor of the checklist, so they don't typically add people unless they're gonna have, like, it's the 10th or something, if they did need to add a body, which could be, so. We'll get the answer. Tax collector, going through the budget here, pretty much everything is staying the same. There's a bump on the salary. The telephone line is, of course, being, going to communications to the select board or executive. The software tends to take a 3 to 5% jump, every year. It used to be 3. Deanna told me that she communicated with, like, Avatar, and they're saying 3 to 5, so she shot for 5% to be safe. Other than that, you have budget versus actual data. Some of the stuff, as Brian had said, because of COVID, went up pretty high. I'm not sure the postage is gonna be offset some, hopefully this year. You can see in 2019, postage exceeded expectations of cost, but I think
Some of that is because of the mailing, ballots, and we will get some of that back when the state sends us the money. They're only proposing, I think, $720.
and that's part of those mailings. How it works too is what you traditionally got, and then now the difference you see. They pay for the difference you see. So going forward, we don't know what we're going to see in one election next year. Is COVID going to be a thing of the past, and people going to show up in person? Is remote balloting going to be a thing in the future? Could the state move in that direction? So it's a pretty big unknown. I would think that if anything would happen with the postage, that might increase, but I'm willing to leave that go right now myself. Anybody else has an issue?
And when you look at your budgets to actuals, everybody, you'll see a large amount of money still in executive postage, because I have to split that out, and I haven't done it as yet. But when we buy postage at $500 a whack, we pay for it out of executive, and then as it's used, that gets transferred to the other accounts. So right now, the budget to actual, the executive is high, and the other accounts is low. And you're still gonna figure in your postage for the tax collector, substantial amount of money for the tax bill to go below.
Right, and there again, I'm not sure if some of this, the 2019, I'm not sure what happened that year. I think 2018 is actually lower, if I can find that paperwork. 2018 postage tax collector 4150.
18?
Yeah, 18, Dave.
1909-26.
Yep, I've got that now, 1909-26. So I guess it varies greatly. And there again, I think I'm willing to just stay with it as is, as the enter is presented it, unless anybody else has concerns. No. Okay, then we'll just stay with what put forward, and we'll let Dave and company do the deep dive. So with this one, I'll just sign it. Then, the next one we have in line here should be the tax collector. Election registration, 4140. Where is that? There it is. Papers everywhere. Okay. Advertising is a bouncing ball on that first column. Last year they budgeted, well, this year was $300, but I think that's due to the more elections that we have. Mileage, again, those are COVID skewed numbers because they usually do try to attend more.
How about the election expenses? If we got less, level funded that, right?
Election expenses, what line item are you looking at? Oh, okay, right there. Third one down.
Yeah.
I think that line, and I find my budget versus actual, I think we went right over that this year. But that's one where we're chasing some,
Just the $4,172.
Yeah, that's,
Of course, we get COVID funds coming back.
right, that's the COVID funds that's, going to address some of that, or a good portion of it.
That's the latest one that I have.
Would you repeat that, Dave?
$4,172 over budget.
Yeah.
They've expended $48,0718. That was as of the 9/22 budget actual.
And a lot of that, Brian, would be offset, I believe.
Some of it will be offset.
Okay. So, election expenses. Misplaced my budget versus actual, the latest one of the date Dave just said. You got one? Yeah, that's a 9/22.
Dave, I believe the tent is in there that we paid for the next election. That should come back to us from the COVID money. The tent from the last election is in there, that should come back to the COVID money. What I'm ready to fight. Secretary of State said anything that we're using for COVID-19 expenses under Gophers funding, we need to put in the October of the last amount. Gophers said everything in August has to be put in, and the one that's gone in already. But they wouldn't take anything from the election, so I've got the directions that I'm gonna send with them underlined, saying if this is what we were told to do, we'll follow it. But the tent, at least the big expense of the tent was after, August. That was a September expense. The smaller was a late August expense, that we were told not to put it into Gophers funding. In writing, we were told not to do that until the September motion comes. So, and we have not received the last Gophers check yet from the August input, so that has not come out of those line items yet. The first one, the 10,000 and change, has come out of the line items that we got.
So,
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, because me and you talked about it.
what we kind of have here is, about $3,000 in tents, leaving about $1,800 left, leaving us an overage of about $1,200, and that $1,200 election expenses, some more of that probably went to some other PPE and.
That's correct. Now, the PP, the personal protective equipment, is, we only get 20% from Gophers because we have to put in the 80% from federal government. The problem is going to be that we're not going to meet the threshold that FEMA requires, so then we'll have to go back for all of it from Gophers, which is in the directions also. You have to meet a certain threshold before FEMA will even talk to you.
So next year, the unknown is what election expenses will be, obviously. We don't know what.
Less elections, right?
Less elections, so we don't know what the impact, is going to be. So, I mean, there again, I don't have a crystal ball to kind of work on this one to say we should do more than what Ian is asking for. 2019 was, $540, $635 seems pretty safe, but, anybody, Tom, you gonna?
No, I mean, it isn't that much to, I don't think, difference. But I was just wondering why it stayed the same if there was less. But I see there's a lot of unknowns too.
All right, then, unless.
I'm all right with it.
Yeah, okay. I would point out office equipment seemed to be one of the issues on, Deanna's budget. But I think some of that was, again, remote computers, access stuff, so, I'm gonna say we'll stay with the $1,750 on both of those budget items, because that's another one of those, you don't know if you have to buy new computers, what it's gonna be, or you're gonna end up with just having a nice year and not have those expenses. All right. Anything else in there that looks troublesome? Postage? Anything? Not hearing anything, so we just push it on down the line, all right? Yeah, just wanna make sure everybody has an opportunity to be heard and bring up any concerns they may see that others are missing. All right. What do we got next on that list? Next, we have the library, which handed in here somewhere. Fire rescue, wooden, since library, there you go. Aha. Well, the bottom line is a bit of a reduction, about $400 and change, so. Since salaries is up.
Do you know if she's, I never got a chance to email Grace back, but they planning 230 hours like normal? They are, that, the standard schedule, they've been working at 30 hours a week, yes. Still a standard schedule? Yep. Okay, I figured I could get you to ask that, so just email her.
I would have to say there's a lot of movement in the budget here, so perhaps it would be best to keep Grace scheduled for a conversation.
I would agree.
Okay. All right, then we'll just skip over that until we can schedule Grace in for that. And now, this one is another one of those just put in what's been working for 100 years. I personally had some considerations here on a number of.
Who's this for?
Treasurer.
Okay.
All the line items actually, because financial banking supplies, and Brian, you could probably add in on this, but that's probably reduced to say $1 just to keep the line open because we don't pay for checks anymore, right?
That's correct.
The banking charges, we should keep maybe $200 or something in there or more.
They gotta keep enough for bounce checks and those types of, and wire transfers, when we transfer money from another account like we did from the, state, whatever that account was, that it was a savings account.
Yep.
There was a cost to that, there's a cost to bounce checks. There's probably some other minor costs, so you ought to keep at least $200 in it. I'd say more like 300.
300, yeah, okay. Do we have a number on the budget versus actual there, Tom, for that one? Madness, I guess. Found it.
Which number do you want?
4150?
Yeah, but you want the salary?
No, I was looking for the banking
Oh, $2.99.
under bank
That's charge.
charges. Okay, which is probably to do with, citizens, which we don't do anymore. So, what is it that, Brian, you're thinking we had some additional charges that maybe aren't showing up?
We've done a couple of bounce checks, just did a third one, I think, so far on Bank of New Hampshire. Plus we had some charges for Citizens Bank because that account wasn't closed, because remember, if you
Right.
remember correctly, Claudia was paying like $48 a month to make sure there was no ACH except the one for the federal government.
Right.
And that was a service charge there, which we don't have with Bank of New Hampshire. So I think the only thing we're doing in there is we're gonna do some bounce checks.
Okay. So then, how's everybody feel about holding at $300?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And next year, we might have a much better idea, it might be even less than that, but,
Right, the unknown.
because we also have some problems, sometimes we have some costs, with bounced credit cards on the credit card account.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, every now and again, the credit card won't go through, but it initially, those are charges that go into that bank charge also.
Another 300.
Okay, I'm interested in the balance credit card thing. I didn't know that came back on us. I thought that was strictly with the credit card company and the,
But we get a fee because it goes to the bank, and the bank sends us the fee. Because the bank gets the money pulled back from them.
what's the fee based on? Is it a generic fee that's the same all the time, or?
$15.
15, okay. Well, thanks for the insight. Banking supplies, again, at $1.
I don't even know why you keep it.
Well, because we might find some
We don't
bank.
pay for the deposit slip.
That's correct, we do
We'll
not.
keep the line item.
Okay. Now, I understand Laurie is, I've heard is not running. I mean, certainly.
There's a letter that she's not.
Right. I mean, she certainly can change her mind. But here's what kind of troubles me with this whole, the salary lines for these two positions. One is $750, and that's the deputy, who may or may not come in but a couple of times a year, if that, I don't know. Somebody's on vacation or, ill.
I think so far this year it's been maybe 4 times.
Okay. So, there again, divide 750 by 4 times, that's $187.50 a visit. That's not what we pay the salary of the treasurer.
Can we do by the hour? Is this a flat fee that we pay them?
Yeah, it's
Can we do by the hour?
stipend. Well, I'll just throw my thought out and figure where you wanna go with it. I'm figuring somebody comes in every week, that should probably be, like $50, because you need somebody who's responsible, who's gonna show up every week. You're gonna come in for probably a couple hours, maybe. It's $25 an hour for 2 hours. I mean, you're traveling back and forth. So I think it's more or less short money, and you need somebody in this position, I think, who's responsible and, somebody who doesn't have a lot of financial bad baggage behind them, maybe. I mean, this is the person who's overseeing the town's funds. It's the holder of all of our money is basically who this person is. So I was looking at saying, bump this up to $2,500 or $2,600 and take away from the deputy treasurer, who might only come in a handful of times at best, and put that down to maybe like $300.
I'm not arguing the deputy, but when you talk to treasurer, she does more than just come in and sign checks.
There you go. Okay.
She has to keep all
A ledger.
the ledger, and she gets a lot of information from the tax collector and the town clerk that she has to also post and keep for the auditors when the auditors do the audit. So there's some record keeping, and I think some of that's done at home. I don't know for sure, because Lori comes in the evening after work and spends, at least if I look at the alarm sign in and sign out, spends anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in here on what she's doing.
A week.
A week.
Okay, so there's my, and this is good that you bring it up, because I just recognize there's more. And Laurie has very, consciously kept this budget low over the years. I don't think, it's the right amount. I think there should be more paid for this position, because there is more to it, and there's time demands. And if we're looking to have somebody come in, I don't think it's the money that's going to attract most people to the position, but I think there's a reasonable compensation, because this isn't something you want anybody to do. Just anybody to walk in off the street.
And she does keep good records, because when Chuck was asking for the pool money, the only one that had a record of that was Lori. There was no record in the Selectmen's office from years past. It was Lori, and actually when we were doing the work trying to figure out the Conservation Commission monies, I finally had to go to Lori, because the treasurer of the Conservation Commission had no idea. He wasn't even receiving the bank accounts.
Okay.
Just piling up in there, and so he had no idea. It was Lori that had the information on that.
Well,
So there's a lot more work that goes on that nobody ever sees.
Well, then, there again, I think there's an argument for an increase on the treasurer's line. I think the deputy treasurer probably doesn't come in very often, so maybe there's a reduction on that line. But I'm open to suggestions, so.
I think we can bump it up a little bit, I mean, I see you're saying, you just don't want anybody.
Well, just so you all understand, anybody can run for that position.
Exactly.
It'll be up to the town to decide who they elect. But anybody that, you probably can't, if you have a felony conviction, but anybody that wants to sign up to run has the opportunity to do that by law.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, Dave.
Instead of hourly, I'd be more in line with, a weekly stipend.
Well, it's a set salary for the year, so it's not hourly.
She's gonna do weekly, come in weekly,
Right.
52 weeks,
Absolutely.
and then, if we're getting the part-time in 4 times a year, so if you're paying them $50 each time they show up, that'd be $200 for them. And, use that same logic so far as the treasurer, and then you're talking 2,600 under the treasurer.
Well, again, it's what Brian was just pointing out is there's probably more hours involved. So go ahead, Brian.
I just wanted to let everybody know that that's paid on a monthly basis. All elected officials get a monthly check.
Right.
With the exception of the town clerk tax collector, and that's because she asked for a weekly check, and we accommodated that because of the amount.
I was just phasing it into what the treasurer actually does, physically come in every week.
Yeah, and well, to Brian's point, I think you're suggesting that there's a lot of work that's probably be done at home as far as record keeping, coming in, going over the checks, signing the checks and doing whatever bookkeeping in here.
Once a week, every week.
Every week, and then after that, you're saying that some other.
It's gotta be other stuff because she has all the records, so.
Okay. So, I mean, we have another week to, before we have to address this, but I think this one deserves some thought because it's, from knowing that Laurie was leaving and looking at these numbers, and I was looking at this for a while, just thinking it, this one doesn't make sense. There's certain categories, the first 2 categories have to go away, and then the salary categories weren't making a lot of sense to me.
And then actually, the time frame that you come in to sign checks has to either be, basically has to be either Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Because checks are mailed out on Thursday, and you can't sign the checks by law until the manifest is signed.
And if you don't perform these functions appropriately and on time, you can be removed from office. The Board of Selectmen can refer this to the Superior Court and have you removed for negligence. So, it's obviously.
So there is some time that the deputy comes in because the treasurer, but it's only to sign the checks.
Right.
Because the treasurer just can't make it in that short time frame.
Right.
And we all do have a life.
Right, so, and that's another consideration is the $750. A realistic number, is 300 too low, is it somewhere in the middle? So why don't we all just take a little.
I suspect the deputy's only doing it because his sister asked him to.
Yes, and that's another point that I probably should be brought up, is the deputy treasurer is appointed by the treasurer, and in this case, these gals are related. So when one goes, the other one's probably going to go. So we're going to be looking for a whole new staffing here.
Somebody might not be willing to be on call for a little tiny bit of money that doesn't amount to anything.
Right. All right, so let's revisit that one next meeting. And everybody hopefully has an opportunity to put some thoughts together for that one. So, visits. We've got the budget committee that we've already signed off on. That one's all set. And the town clerk, tax collector, we have signed off on both of those. Excuse me, Dave?
Can we revisit one?
What would you like to go back to? One of the first,
PTO?
yes.
I thought telephone, we're not including Rebecca's telephone in our own. I thought we were putting that, did you think that was going in with the lease?
No, you're right. Telephone, we should just level funded that. That should go to us.
So we should take $650 off of that one.
Correct.
And we do, Dave, need to look at the contract. I'm not sure everything's gonna be level funded because the cost of phones will go up a little bit this year. And we knew that when we signed the contract.
Well, that's a good catch, Dave. I skipped right over
I
that.
remember hers had to be separate, I didn't think so, but.
No, it does not. She does not have a cell phone provided.
15,823 is the bottom line.
15,823.
Correct.
And Dave, when you're figuring the communications budget, you have to also take the spectrum costs for this complex and move it as part of the communications. But you have to leave the spectrum cost for the fire department with the fire department. There is none at the transfer station. But I don't know how the library deals with that, but that's part of their worry anyway, right?
That's their budget.
That's part of their, okay.
All right, so that's got us through those first two rounds. So I'll make phone calls to everybody concerned with rescheduling. Can the office reach out to, once again, Mr. Jones for the Historic District?
When do you want him?
Well, he needs to submit a budget, first off. And depending what that budget is, we'll have him come in. I would imagine we should schedule him in for the 19th in the afternoon if he can make it. I think he might have some problems making the timeline, so we'll have to see when he's available due to his employment. So we had a couple other submissions here if we wanted to go
Forest fire warden.
Yeah, we could do forest fire warden. You got that one, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay. What do we have on budget, the actual with this? I think in the last couple of years, I haven't seen a lot of activity, I don't believe. A lot has been proposed, but not so much.
Usually we get a bill for maintenance on the forestry truck at about this time of year.
Well, there's $1,001 that have been spent through September on the equipment.
And that may be the maintenance.
It says equipment purchase repair, could have been a purchase. No firefighter reimbursement at this point. Maybe that's just due to a lack of fires. Training prevention is nothing. Mileage, I didn't even know we had a line for that, but maybe.
We did expect that to go down because that money, the top line for equipment purchases, and grants, tools, and equipment in it last year. And we expected it to go back to what it originally was before we started with the increases. Which he is going back to that.
Okay, let me see, 4290. Going back to 2018, Dave. See if we can.
It's 2,000 in there.
And here again, there's no numbers under actual. In this.
It was, what, 17 you mean?
2018, 17, 18, 19, there's budget requests, but there's no actual expenditures.
You didn't spend anything on those. It wouldn't have showed up?
So, when did we ever pay for firefighter reimbursement, Brian? You got anything on that?
No, and he did I can only talk this stuff from September on last year. And I do know that we paid out of the forest fire ward's budget repairs on the forestry truck near the end of the year. I don't think we ever paid any people because we haven't since I've been here because we haven't had any forest fires. We haven't had any fires that have.
We had one, it was either in 17 or 18 or some, so I guess.
Well, that's long before my time.
Right, but I guess I'd like to know is if we paid anybody, because otherwise, I don't know what would, is there an expense here that we can anticipate?
I'm only going to be suspect in what I say next. I would say that if the fire department went out and took the forestry truck but took other people and equipment, that it was probably under the fire department that they got paid.
Yeah, because I know some firefighters are part of the forestry, or they used to be, so, at this point, I think I want more information to know if we've ever paid anybody in any firefighter reimbursement, and if we're paying for any training or fire prevention, because why put $1,000 in here if it just shows up every year but doesn't get used for anything? I guess I'm gonna want a little more from me personally.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little, can we have men or?
Well, it's scheduled, right, be on the schedule at some point here. Well, I don't know who comes in, if Randy comes in for him on occasion, I believe.
No, he came in.
He comes in occasionally, so.
He's on the 10th at 15. No, excuse me. He's on the 27th.
27th. Yeah, so we'll.
10 o'clock.
So we'll keep that one for that point in time. And see if we can't get some better numbers. There probably should be some actual numbers somewhere. And I think that's both what Chuck and I are looking for, is some actual numbers on it.
I agree with Brian. It's like, is there a reason why it's split and not coming under the fire department budget if people are going to a fire? There could be some legitimate reasons for it. I just don't know what they are.
I think the reason it's split, Chuck, is because the state supplements what you have to pay for forest fires. I'm not sure that it has ever been properly accounted for, is what my problem is.
Yep.
But I think if you don't split it, you lose out money.
Potentially from the state. Okay.
The fire prevention, is that like going into the schools and all that?
Well, I don't know. It might be training that the state might fund for doing, or for taking the fire warden might go to the fire department and have the fire department personnel do a drill, and maybe it pays the people stipends for that. All of these questions and more is what it is for me.
Is the Smokey the Bear under the fire warden or the fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they've done that
I haven't.
over the last year or two over at the school.
I think we asked about it my first year on the board, and Chief Burbank came in and stuck a flyer on the window, and that's Smokey the Bear. Oh, okay. How much are we paying for that? Little more attention as we pay to that mimeograph sheet.
No, I think he does go into the school with coloring books and
I
that
do
type of thing.
think it might behoove you to think about placing the forest fire underneath the fire department as a sub-item, and then let them break out the pay so that if you then are eligible to get matching funds from the state, we do it, and it's done all under the fire department, because frankly, if Joe Citizen calls up because the field behind his house is burning, he's gonna call 911. And they're not gonna call the forest fire service, they're gonna call the fire department and send the fire truck. And when the fire truck arrives, someone's gonna say, that's out in the woods, we need the forestry, and we need to notify the state warden.
Right.
And that's what's gonna happen, it's gonna all happen through the fire department, not as a separate entity.
Well, that's years ago, and our fire warden was was the chief of the fire department back then, and was the fire warden. My understanding, 97 to 98% of the towns in New Hampshire, that's the case. The fire warden is the fire chief, and it's all under the fire department. I want to see it go back to that, quite honestly. This doesn't make any sense. And I think Chief Burbank coordinates everything just fine, and if he wants the present fire warden to be the deputy warden or whatever, that's great. I think it should go to the fire department myself and be accounted for that way, because the forestry truck is in the fire department's possession. It's housed there. I just don't see this as a two-entity thing, but that's just me. So I think that's probably what we should be looking at. If I'm seeing some nods around the table, too many chiefs. You know, I mean, it just needs to be one central control of all this kind of equipment, apparatus, and budget, I'm thinking. So these will be the conversations when we go forward, I guess. So we'll leave that one to the discussion phase when we bring somebody in. And with that, if we're good with that, I'll move on to the emergency management, which is our generators, which we know we've spent more than that in 2019.
Mike, I don't have that one, so.
Oh, you don't have this one? I don't know how I ended up with it. You didn't, but I'll pass it around. 2019, it has a little.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Than the.
I did see it.
Yeah, it's basically the same money year after year. We did discuss it the other day when Chief Burbank was in, and we could speculate increases and.
The question I have is that it doesn't look like the normal, I'm gonna call it an inflation increases in there,
Right.
because I use the same outfit, and I just got my bill, and it went up like $15, so.
Well, this services 3 generators at $1,890. Mileage is in here. I don't know what that entails, if it's ever been used. But we do know we've had some repairs done in the past, and the fall generator cycle's coming up, and some attention's going to be paid to some more repairs that we put off because of the weather. And my budget versus actual, we go to that, where are we at with emergency maintenance?
827.
And I think maybe this is an older budget, or maybe that's coming.
I did 827 through September, or the beginning, middle of September. But we also, as you know, we got that repair coming to this one out here.
Right.
With the return visit. So if this was a visit, then we're gonna eat it up, pretty much.
Two things that we've kind of discussed at different times is, one, the possibility of starting a trust fund to replace these generators when they finally wear out.
Correct, yeah.
But the other thing I think you've got to consider is these generators are getting older. So the older they get, the more things they're going to have fixed. Maintenance cost is going to increase. And as we found out, because I don't think we got enough money in the line item this year to cover the heater that needs to be put in for the propane in this generator out here. I think we looked at that in the spring, and we deferred it until fall because we didn't need to heat it during the summer, because we were going to be a little tight on money on that line item. So I think you ought to consider the fact that all 3 generators are getting older. There are, I think, 2 are the same year, and 1 of them is a year older.
Randy came to me with information, he called the company, he's got all kinds of data on how long they last and all that, so.
Anyway, I think this is the oldest one.
How many hours are actually on it? Not years, but hours.
Well, I don't know if there's an hour meter on it.
They go by that on the longevity, not years. They go by the hours that it's in use.
That's correct, that's what Randy told me. They were saying 25 years you can expect to get out of yours, if you legally maintain.
You said 25 days?
25 years is, but the company, Randy gave me the information based on the hours we use and the maintenance we do with them. That would not be abnormal.
That's probably
Yeah,
what.
we got this one when we bought the school, right? Did it come?
Randy said that we got a good 10 years left on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
13 years old.
Actually, I think you were already in here when this one came. It was at the school, and it was determined it was not a high enough kilowatt generator to run the emergency evacuation center.
Got it.
So a bigger one was purchased for the school the following year, and that one was brought down here. So I think you already own this building.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other one went to the fire station too. So I'll make this suggestion then, why don't we hold fast with Randy's recommendations on the maintenance thing for now? And if we get into it with the budget committee, they could, amend it up, or at the public hearing, we could amend it up if we felt that was the case. Meanwhile, we'll submit a warrant article for, generators to fund,
Trust fund.
trust fund to,
Replace.
yeah. And then, and we still have some options to revisit this if anybody thinks it's in a, because obviously Randy's done some research and he hasn't gotten back to us on
Well,
it.
when he comes in on the 27th, we could pick his brain for that thing too.
All right, well, I won't sign it, I'll leave this with some of the others that we'll be following up on. Just Randy's budget right here. Okay, so we have the fire warden, Randy's budget, keep those going down the road. That puts us into one other one I have here anyway, is, general assistance.
I don't have that one.
I don't have that.
You're getting into stuff that we don't have copies of.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how I ended up here.
I do.
Okay.
I gave it to you this morning.
Oh, did you now? All right, okay. Well, it's pretty straightforward, and, we used to budget for $14,000, and,
Wait a minute, before he goes in there, Brian, hold on a minute. Brian, are there any other ones you wanna go over?
I don't have any more, I think that was.
Is that the last one? Okay, good. I thought there was another one you needed. Thanks.
No, it's,
Going over the fire department too?
yeah, we can go on that one, I just figured this was the easy one, I didn't think we were gonna.
I don't have the
really go-
fire one either, so that's why I'm asking the question.
Oh, well, I didn't even think to go over this one without Randy, quite frankly. I thought this was a bigger discussion.
I didn't know if you just wanted to talk about it beforehand, that's all. You want me to make copies of that too?
Sure, if you wanna provide copies.
You came in, Dave.
No, the police ones we have not touched on. So, just for the, getting back to it, we used to put in $14,000 for general assistance. The budget committee didn't like it because, Maureen kept costs down. So they dropped it to 12. This has been a bone of contention. What it looks like here is the welfare officer, we know is all new to us this year. Put in, it would appear, I'm assuming she put in this number for
Yes, sir.
$15,000. I'm gonna say right now, I'm pretty comfortable that the budget committee is gonna have issue with this. In which case, we don't have to make a recommendation, but I think the budget committee is gonna go back down to 12,000. And I think the auto welfare probably should be provided, thank you. We should probably provide the budget committee with the auto welfare for their members, and they can kind of do their own assessment of it. But as to where I am on this one, I don't have a position at this time, and it's not in front of us at this point in time.
Well, and I think that's a good idea, providing them with the art of welfare info, because once they've had an understanding of what this line item's about, it may affect their decision.
Correct, that's my feeling, as well as, this is one of those things like the legal line. It's, bottomless pit of funding that we don't control, so it's not exactly an issue I figure we need to jump up and down and fight, because it's out of everybody's control, but I think education would be worthwhile, so.
So we'll need some copies of the art of welfare to pass out to the.
I have several of them made.
Oh, okay, good, all right.
All right then. I don't know if everybody wants to touch on the, fire department one. Mutual aid dues, when I looked at the budget versus actual, were up over the 63. I think I mentioned that to the fire chief the last time he was in. And I think if we're going to sponsor a warrant article, it kind of gets into problematic on cutting member compensation. How do you do the two? Because if the warrant article doesn't pass, you're gonna need the compensation. If the warrant article passes, you probably just have to anticipate a reduction in that line, but you'd have to have it taxed to maintain that standard. Interestingly enough, fire prevention has dropped $250. Seems like that goes along with something else. Disease protection in the year of COVID is dropping. Just a whopping $200 wouldn't have saved anybody, I'm figuring. Fuel is going up, which is understandable, I would say. General expenses and supplies is going down, so mileage is going down. So for me, there's not a lot of discussion here without the chief in the room, but training numbers moved, radio expenses is.
If our call volumes are going up, I wonder how the mileage is going down.
That mileage isn't for call volume, that mileage is for, taking the vehicles, I believe, to go, be repaired and all the things to deal with the fire department, going for equipment.
Okay.
That's my understanding, I could be wrong, but.
You talk about mileage in the fire budget?
Yeah.
Also pays for people to go to training.
Right, exactly.
We had a large expenditure last year because of one guy getting state certified for PE 3 times the budget.
Actually, that's the largest expense in the mileage is training. People going to training.
So, I mean, you have it now to look at, but I'm thinking this is just another one of those ones that we're ill-equipped to address without, Chief Burbank being available.
Now, Randy's gonna bring in numbers on the member compensation to adjust it to his state coverage. Plus, that's what he gave me a on. So I expect he'll have that when you have your meeting with him. Just so you're aware of that. And he has the questions from the budget committee that you guys all have a copy of.
Right.
So you'll prepare, you said your meeting, if you wish to bring it up, you can. If you don't, we'll bring it up.
What does this say on additional information there? Can I read that?
Will ask when,
Yeah, that one. What's the last word?
I think it says known.
We'll adjust with something known.
Numbers, no.
Numbers.
Oh, okay.
Well, all right, that was my own head scratch. I didn't.
Oh, that's a Dave issue. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm blaming that on Randy now.
All right then. So with that, we'll table, I guess, what we can't answer until we have some more information of the people that can answer those for us, in the room. I have the signed ones that we're able to get through, and we can make copies of those and provide those to Dave. And we'll continue to dwell on the treasurer, and we'll need to focus on getting together with, Joe Duchesne on the police issues. So this will be the next round that we'll be looking at. And I think, a review as soon as possible on executive, Brian, would probably be a good direction to take, because we're gonna be adding and making adjustments to that line for telephones or communications.
Do you wanna do that during the work session next week?
Yeah, if that gives Brian and
The executive, can you pull the executive stuff together for next Wednesday?
Tech stuff?
The executive line item, 4130? Pull that together for the,
I did that last year, and then you guys all changed it, and
we're gonna probably do that anyway, but we still have to pull it together.
Look at that, something.
Gotta start somewhere.
Mike, if I could just make sure I get the right numbers. So on October 19th at 2:00, you're gonna have proposed historic district supervisor checklist, library, and the treasurer.
We should have on the October, yeah, I guess we're probably moving the historic district to that time. That wasn't really my intention. But it probably makes more sense at this point, because you're not starting yet, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we can lump, historic district in on the 19th, as was discussed.
So those four.
So we'll have, the supervisors of the checklist, either an explanation or that individual in. The library will have a conference call with the treasurer. I think at this point will be up to us to set that budget. So I think it's really just, the library and historic district. And I think we'll have the answer we're looking for from, Carol Pfister on the supervisors. Anybody think that's?
No, that's good. Did we do the budget for that? The budget committee?
Yes. What's that date?
And the 27th meetings I scheduled, you're still holding to those?
Yeah, at this point in time, I think that would be the case.
Okay, so
What'll be the 27th?
Same as there.
Yeah, same as what
Same
we,
schedule.
and we did do the budget committee.
We did.
Yes. We signed off on it on the sense of, we put that under, utility and redundancy.
just so you know, on the 24th, we still agreed to do all the non-profits together in November.
Yeah,
I am getting requests to come in and give presentations, so we will be having people give a presentation, just so you're aware of that.
okay. All right, I don't know that there's anything else, so, if there's anything else anybody else needs to cover, wants to cover, want to bring up, do it now, and from that, let's try to salvage the rest of the day for ourselves for once. It basically means for you guys to go down to the fire department, review construction projects.
Round two. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it seems like nobody has anything else to add to the conversation, so, with that, I would entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Fuller.
All in favor?
Fuller, aye.
Al and I.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.